Okay, we're live now. Now I'm going to play my intro. I'm going to take us off the screen and then we'll come back. So you have to sit through my intro. Okay?
Okay. All
All right.
right.
Thank you for listening. Give me 1 second. I just saw the alert go out to my phone, which means it's just barely getting out to other people's phones now too. I'm expecting 1 to 2 people to tune in. All right.
So it's an enormous audience.
Enormous. This is going to move the needle. This might convince Joe Tsai to bring Kyrie back if you make a good enough case. Okay. Here we go.
Dante is a really smart guy.
Ladies love Dante.
Look at that one hair. Look at that face. What's your name? Casey.
Dante Greco.
Dante was me, yours truly.
I'm gonna come.
Hello, America. Welcome to the Dante Greco Show. Joined today by my guest, Mohammed. Old friend of mine. Used to do a podcast with him. Then he fell off the face of the earth. Where are you living now? Or do you want people to know?
We'll skip that for now. Yeah, we'll skip that for now. Depending on how many people we get in here, I may disclose that later.
We'll tell them after you make your arguments. So when the news that Kyrie Irving was sharing anti-Semitic links on his Instagram came out, you demanded to come on here and defend him. So, of course, I wanted to give you the floor. This show's all about free speech.
Is it?
It sure is. But, look, you're going to say bad stuff, and if you get canceled, that's on you.
I don't want to harm your career by, you being attached to this. But, that's a whole other topic for another day, the whole free speech thing. That's at risk of being taken from us as we speak.
Hey, sign up for Twitter Blue.
$8. Let's do it.
I did today. I
Did
signed
you?
up just to get the check mark. Yeah. Well, I'm a member of the media. I have to have a Dante Greco Show official account.
You want to be taken serious, of course.
I can't fuck around. I can't tell you about the nightmare it was with Instagram to try to get verified all these years. When I was at TMZ, I was a legitimate member of the media. I had been on the show. I've been on the website. Diddy wrote in my car and put it on his Instagram. I mean, I was a real thing. I had a press pass. It expired last month, but I did have a press pass, and they would not verify us.
What was their reason for not just giving you the blue check mark? Like
they kept saying, "Oh, it doesn't meet the criteria, not big enough. Like you got to have accounts spoofing you, and you have to have multiple articles written with your name in it," which I had a few.
Yeah, one of your former colleagues, Van, he's verified. Now, did that come after his time at TMZ, or was he verified during his time there?
I want to say he was verified during his time there. If he didn't get verified before the Kanye thing, then he definitely did afterward.
I love that guy, by the way.
Yeah?
Not Van. Yay.
Oh.
Van's a good guy. Van's a good guy, too.
Yeah, Van's a good guy. Did you hear when Van said that Kanye was saying in his interview that he loved Hitler and the Nazis, and that they cut that part out of the TMZ interview?
No, I did not. That also doesn't surprise me. Doesn't
Well,
surprise me that he would make that up, because Kanye would never say that, obviously.
Are you kidding?
Story.
So I don't think you've been paying attention to the news much recently, but Kanye, then it came out, a bunch of people who used to work for him at Yeezy and in other ways spoke about how much he admired Hitler, and he would express it.
Like Hitler the artist?
Hitler, the genocidal leader, the man who murdered 6 million Jews and tried to take over the world. That Hitler. He wanted to name his 2018 album "Yay Hitler."
I mean, if you're seeking power, I think we're all seeking power, right? You're CEO of a Fortune 500 company for a reason. Like, everyone's seeking power. Why are we singling out this one person from history for seeking power?
Listen,
I don't understand.
I was just reading an article today in Rolling Stone about how Kanye said during design meetings for the Yeezy brand, which are you a fan of the Yeezy clothing brand?
I've got a few pair of the sneakers. I'm not a fan of the clothing itself, but I've got some of the sneakers.
Yeah, he said his biggest inspiration was Hitler and the Nazis, which I knew. I knew from the beginning there was something off about that brand because I've been saying, and you know this for years, that the styles, the all brown style and like the black, now he's walking around like he's in the SS with the black boots and the black everything and the gas mask that he wears at awards shows. It's all Nazi inspired. And it's just now finally being confirmed or allegedly confirmed.
So you believe Kanye's a Hitler fan?
Of course. And I believe it because of kind of what you alluded to, which is like, I don't think Kanye, well, actually, I don't want to say that because I said that before and then he kept making anti-Semitic remarks. I said, like, I don't think he's an anti-Semite. He's just misguided. But then he just kept doubling down and doubling down. So I don't want to say that again. But he definitely looks up to Hitler as like, wow, look at how much he accomplished. Look at how he almost took over the world.
Is
That
Hitler
kind of
not accomplished?
Well, objectively, he gained a lot of ground, but he's not. There's other people who have done that who you can look up to without the the genocide. I think.
I respect that opinion.
Right. Anyways, so let's move on to why you're here, to mount a passionate defense of Kyrie Irving and his anti-Semitism. I wanted to let you know that LeBron James today, Kyrie's old teammate, they won a ring together in 2016 in Cleveland, commented on this finally today. Who the hell is this? And he said, I told you guys that I don't believe in sharing hurtful information, and I'll continue to be that way. But Kyrie apologized, and he should be able to play. That's what I think. It's that simple. Help him learn, but he should be playing. What he's asked to do to get back on the floor, I think, is excessive, in my opinion. He's not the person that's being portrayed of him. Anyways, back to my rehab session. So LeBron coming out and saying, hey, Kyrie's done enough. He apologized. I don't know if you saw there's 6 things that the Nets want him to do.
They're like a list of things.
Yeah.
Which one, like, basically it's like renouncing your beliefs.
Let me read them. Let me read them real quick.
It's the best.
Yeah. Apologize and condemn the movie. Right. $500,000 donation to anti-hate causes. Sensitivity training, anti-Semitic training. Meet with ADL and Jewish leaders. Meet with Joe Tsai to demonstrate understanding. A lot of people think Kyrie won't even do that, and this is a way for the Nets to get out of his contract. Let's talk about it. You don't think that what he did was bad?
I do not, in short. I mean, the guy's got a platform. Yes, he's an employee of the NBA. He's associated with the Nike brand, who we know their association with the CCP and the Uyghurs. We can go down that road, but it's a double standard. And I'm not saying what Kyrie did or didn't do is right or wrong, but I think it's more that needs to be uncovered than just this person sharing the link to a documentary or the book on his social media platform that we should be concerned with. Like, first of all, why is it so easy to go and buy this piece of material if it's that bad, right? Like, I can just go on Amazon, purchase it, and have it for myself. Like, it shouldn't be that easy if this documentary is, and I say if because I haven't seen it, if it's as bad as it's portrayed to be. I think there's a bigger conversation that needs to be had, more so than just Kyrie Irving using his social media platform.
That's a good point. Good point. And I don't know, you would think Bezos is well known for being like extremely detail oriented and like really like making sure everything is checked at the expense of the lives and well-being of his workers, it seems, very often. So on the other hand, there's a ton of titles on what was that?
He gives them, cans to pee in while they're working at their stations in the warehouse. Like, he really cares about his employees, this Jeff Bezos guy.
Yeah, exactly. On the other hand, there are a ton of titles on Amazon Prime, like way more than you could ever watch. It's conceivable that something like this could slip through. It was called Hebrew to Negroes. Wake Up, Black America. A 2018 film driven by anti-Semitic tropes about Jewish people lying about their origins. Among its false and outlandish claims is the assertion that the Holocaust never happened. Now, this sounds like the Kyrie I know. The flat earth, moon landing faked, Holocaust never happened guy. What is with the Holocaust never happened? Like, why? Well, what's your belief, first of all? I want to make sure I know who I'm talking to.
Are you asking me if I believe that the Holocaust actually happened?
Yes.
Based on, the history books that we were provided growing up, that, yes, that's what they say in those books.
Absolutely. Eisenhower, the great general and later president, when he showed up, I think it was Eisenhower, when he showed up at the death camps, he said to them, you need to film this because people are going to try to say that it didn't happen. Who knew? He was talking about Kyrie Irving.
Forward thinker.
I'm against the Holocaust denying thing, definitely. I hate when people deny stuff that is objectively true. I also think Kyrie didn't even watch the documentary. Someone probably told him about it, and then he was like, oh, here's a good idea. Let's send that out. Doesn't negate the hurt that he may have caused to people in the community. The other thing with Kyrie, he plays for Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn is, according to this article in Hadassah magazine, Brooklyn is the most Jewish spot on earth. There's a high population of Jewish people living in Brooklyn. So you got one of the star players of your team tweeting out links to movies that say the Holocaust never happened. How can he be that stupid? How can a guy who wants to be smart be that stupid?
How is Brooklyn more Jewish than Israel?
Well, I mean, look, he plays in the NBA. I don't know.
Who's this article written by? This is a fake website.
This is Hadassah magazine.
They're claiming that there are more Jews in Brooklyn than in Israel.
Hillary Den, I love it. Well, I mean, I don't think they're talking about like numbers. I think they're just saying culturally or something. I don't know what they're saying.
The headline says in the world. I'm going to question that.
Well, we can question that. That's fine. As far I looked at this just to kind of get a sense because it occurred to me that there is definitely a high Jewish population in Brooklyn. And now you have the star player of Brooklyn's team is an anti-Semite, allegedly. It's just crazy. He's not well thought out.
I don't see a problem with what he did personally. I know that some people are offended. Not everyone's going to agree with me, and that's okay. But let's reverse this, and let's say that he was promoting, a hip hop album, and the contents of that album were, I'm gonna fuck your bitch, I'm gonna rob you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill your family, I'm gonna sell these drugs. No one would have batted an eye. However, he's promoting violence and things that can be violent today. And he's got a big platform, and these kids are eating that shit up. I highly doubt the youth on his page are going to Amazon and ordering this documentary, watching it, or even care about it as much as, promoting hip hop or a movie that promotes black on black violence. So again, there's just this double standard of what's right and what's wrong. And this should be it's a free speech platform. Like, yeah, he's a brand himself. He's a part of a brand, Nike. He's a part of the Nets. I get all that. But I think this is way overblown.
Well, LeBron James agrees with you that he's apologized. He should be able to play. I think that the Nets just are looking at him saying between last year sitting out half the season over the COVID thing and now this, like, we just got to get rid of this guy. He's just not worth the headache. I do like, and you don't have to condone what Kyrie did to agree with the response of many people who are saying, hey, NBA and Nike specifically, even Jaylen Brown just tweeted this, which is actually quite bold about him. Oh, this is from the Black Israelites were outside the Barclays Center at the game last night, trying to hand out the truth about anti-Semitism pamphlets. The so-called blacks and Hispanics are the 12 tribes of Israel. You are the children of the slave trade. Do you subscribe to that idea? Before I get back to the NBA thing, there's this belief that one of the lost tribes of Israel are black people. How do you feel about it?
It's definitely something that I think, should be considered, and people should be open to it being a possibility. I can't say definitively one way or the other. However, you look at the proximity of a country like Israel to a continent like Africa, and it's very plausible, right? If Africa is the cradle of civilization, given how close Israel is to Africa, like, I wouldn't rule it out entirely. It's definitely a possibility. Like, is there anyone here to prove that it's a certainty? Unfortunately, not. So it's, my word against yours in a sense. But it's not something that is far fetched that people should be like, oh my God, how could you even think that,
Could this be considered an instance of cultural appropriation on the part of, the black Israelites trying to say, hey, no, actually, we're the Israelites?
No.
No?
No.
You don't think so? I look at it and I say, why do you also need to be the Israelites?
What do you mean also? What else?
Well, it's like, what do you mean? Like, why do you have to be the Israelites?
Why not?
Because the Israelites are the Israelites.
Yeah, I think the message is that it's deeper than what we see today, is kind of what they're getting at. They're not discrediting, the people who are currently living there and look different than me as being Israelites. They're just looking for some recognition and some acknowledgement and say, hey, don't rule this out entirely. This is definitely plausible.
Right. That's a good point. As I was saying, Jaylen Brown commented on this because Nike founder Phil Knight said that they're basically done with Kyrie Irving. So Jaylen Brown, he plays for the Boston Celtics. They were just in the finals last year. He said, since when did Nike care about ethics? Now, that's pretty bold for an NBA player to come out and say that, considering he doesn't even have a shoe deal right now. He's a shoe free agent.
He is. He does wear a lot of Nike, or I don't know if he probably won't moving forward, but in the past he did.
He used to have a deal with Nike. And so it's bold on his part because he could lose out on a lot of money. Like, why would Nike give him another deal after this? But he makes a good point. And that's what I was saying. You don't have to condone or agree with what Kyrie did to also agree with the point that everyone's making, saying, hey, it's a bit hypocritical of the NBA and Nike with their sweatshops and the NBA and how much money they're making from China, and China having an active, I don't know if we can go as far as to call it genocide, but they got the Uyghur Muslims in camps right now and nobody's doing anything about it. And they won't, because apparently NBA owners have something like $10 billion invested in China.
Yeah.
And they make a ton of money, and it's a huge market for them. So they're quiet about that. That is a hypocrisy. That drives me crazy. How about you? You're an NBA fan, right?
Yeah. And it's not just the NBA owners, it's the NBA brand itself. Like, NBA China, a subsidiary of the NBA, generates $5 billion a year. That's on its own. So, yeah, I mean, it's very hypocritical, in my opinion. Joe Tsai is someone who has a huge stake in Chinese operations. He makes up a big chunk of that $10 billion. So I agree wholeheartedly with Jaylen Brown, who, by the way, is vice president of the NBA Players Association. So for him to go out on the limb and say something like that, there's got to be some validity to it. Yeah, I mean, it's very clear the hypocrisy that's going on here. And that sort of goes back to my original, why is there a double standard? Player tweets out this piece of material, he's fucking essentially being blackballed right now. Whereas these owners are in bed with the CCP, the NBA's in bed with them. They're making money, Nike, all this shit. No one bats an eye. But oh my God, Kyrie Irving shared the link to a documentary that could be interpreted as anti-Semitic. Let's stop the world. Like, I don't understand the double standard. is all. And that's what's frustrating.
This is a complex question. And I agree, by the way. It's a complete double standard, and it makes me, I feel like I have to feel guilty when I watch the NBA because of what's going on right now in China. And it also bothers me that I don't feel guilty, that I just continue to watch it. But it's like, I got my own life that I'm living. I can't also sit here and turn off the NBA because of, it's not like I could do anything anyway.
It's out of sight, out of mind, of course. If we were living in a place where the Uyghur camp was, in your backyard, it'd be a bigger issue. You feel different about it, but you only hear about it. You see clips that come out and these articles that people write about it, and you in the moment like, oh man, that sucks. But then once you're done reading it, you forget about it. It's out of sight, out of mind. Like, it's not in our face.
So this is a hard question to ask, but I thought about it when I saw what Kanye was doing in the last few weeks, and now with Kyrie and all the support that they're getting. Aside from players saying, hey, Kyrie's being punished too harshly, I'm talking about on Twitter. A lot of people coming out in support of Kanye, Kyrie, saying, well, see, this just proves Kanye's point. He speaks out and he gets canceled, or we need to support Kanye, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think, is there an issue of anti-Semitism in the Black community?
What do you mean by issue?
Is there like and by the way, I get the Black community. Like, you can call every, it's like if you said, what's an issue in the white community? I'd say, what are you talking about? Whole Foods? Trader Joe's? Saturday Night Live? I don't know. Like, is there a feeling that Jewish people are either holding back or preventing, or like, somehow antagonizing Black people in this country, at least?
That's a good question. And it's funny that you bring that up. So I think back to a conversation that I would jokingly have with a former colleague who is Jewish, and I guess the base of the joke was, who had it worse, the Jews or the Blacks, right? The Jews with the Holocaust and the whole Hitler thing, and then the Blacks with the obvious, the transatlantic slave trade and whatnot. Which kind of like, obviously funny, and he meant nothing by it, but it caused me to wonder, like, do more Jewish people have this mindset of like, oh, Blacks are getting all of the sort of like, hey, we're sorry, this shouldn't have happened, what about us, kind of thing, like, maybe that's a mindset they have, maybe they don't. I'm not one to say, but I'm speaking from my personal experience with Jewish people. As you may or may not know, I have several Jewish friends, some of which are extremely close to me.
Yes, I do know that. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think there is an issue. I think it could be, some of the Jews at the higher ups could think that way. But the fact that this Jewish person had that mindset of like, who had it worse, it's like, well, why is there even a comparison? Like, we both went through shitty situations. We should be working together as a unit, assuming that you want to acknowledge that we are one of the 12 tribes.
Right. Do you think so? Should the Nets just drop what they're asking Kyrie to do and let him back on the court, as LeBron is asking, or should he actually, try to? First of all, one of the Jewish organizations rejected his $500,000 donation, so that one might not work. And apparently he met with Adam Silver, and it was productive. But
I've never heard of a Jewish person rejecting money. That's the first. I'm kidding.
It's okay. You're Jewish. You could say that.
You're right. I can't say that.
Your name's Muhammad, but you're Jewish.
My last name it ends in Stein, so good there.
Cutting that out of the replay.
I think they should just kind of get over it and bring him back. Like, was it really that bad what he did, sharing that link? Like, does it warrant all of this, you have to follow these 6 steps. And even with that, is it even a certainty that he does all those things that they're going to bring him back, or they just consider bringing him back? Like, there's so much unknown, but I think they should just get over it and let him play.
Well, here's the theory that I like, that LeBron is saying this now because he wants us to make a move, the Lakers, to make a move to get Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
And, you know, if there is one guy who's molded Kyrie into a winning player, it's LeBron James. He never was as successful as when he was with LeBron in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So I like this from a selfish standpoint because the Lakers are a horrible team right now. They're
Terrible.
impossible to watch.
God awful.
Yeah.
I think the fact that LeBron, this person who is basically the face of the NBA, has been for the past 18 years, plus or minus, is backing Kyrie. I think this gets resolved a lot quicker now.
Yeah.
You know, it took a little bit for LeBron to say how he felt one way or the other. Initially, he condemned Kyrie, and now he's walking that back and backing Kyrie. I mean, LeBron James, when it comes to these situations, is a walking contradiction. So, like, I don't really take anything he says with any weight. But I think this gets resolved now that LeBron is publicly backing Kyrie, saying, hey, look, man, this guy apologized. He may not have done all 6 things, but maybe he's done 4 of them. That's more than half. Like, let him play. We have a league of, the NFL that abusers and murderers and rapists can play in every Sunday. No one gives a fuck, because they're worried about their fantasy football lineup. Like, Kyrie shared a link to an item that can be easily purchased on Amazon. Like, it just doesn't make sense what's coming from that.
Right. LeBron's taken some controversial positions in the past too. Remember, he's kind of like questioning COVID vaccines. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar got mad at him about that.
By the way, I still don't think he ever got vaccinated.
Yeah, probably not.
That's
But
just my.
yeah, and you know what? I've heard Bill Maher talk about this too. Like, an athlete, like the tennis player who didn't want to get vaccinated, they're fine-tuned instruments. LeBron
Right.
spends $1 million on his body.
If not
Maybe,
more.
yeah, he doesn't want to mess that up. He's trying to play with Bronny in a few years. What if that vaccine knocked him out?
And these guys, these athletes, to your point of them being fine-tuned machines, they're probably the least likely to contract. And if they do contract, they'll probably have very mild symptoms without the vaccine. So, like, we're talking about a different tier of just like human, right? Like, they're not your average person walking around. These people make money off of their body, so they're going to be in the best physical shape and the best health that they can be. But that's another conversation for another time. But yeah, he does. He's a walking contradiction. This guy LeBron, hell of a basketball player though.
Apparently, there is a player who's looking to become the first Orthodox Jew to play in the NBA. His name's Ryan Terrell. Made his G League debut last night. People are saying that the writers are getting too obvious, that the timing is too perfect.
Yeah, what are the chances
with the Kyrie thing? What do you do? Like, should he have to play with Kyrie, like against Kyrie?
You know what? I think the best way to resolve this is Ryan Terrell and Kyrie Irving play one-on-one. Ryan Terrell gets spotted 5 points. They play to 11. And if Ryan Terrell scores more than 7, which means he only really needs 2 on Kyrie, then Kyrie's done. Banned from the NBA forever. If Kyrie wins 11-5, 11-6, whatever, we never talk about this again. That's how you resolve. These guys play one-on-one.
I like that. Well, anything more you want to say about Kyrie?
I mean, we can talk about some of the positive things that he's done, like
what?
Do you recall 2020, the bubble, that whole thing in the NBA? The WNBA was also there when not George Floyd, but give me the other guy's name who got killed in Wisconsin, Jacob Blake, was murdered.
Right.
They essentially boycotted their games for a while. right? And then there were certain players that just like forewent and opted out of the rest of the season. So Kyrie Irving donated a few $1 million to those players to help subsidize their salary while they were taking a stand against social injustice. No one talks about that. I believe recently he's paid off student loans for, I want to say like 9 or 10 students at an HBCU. No one talks about that. Steven Jackson, I think he's cousin of George Floyd, or in some way they're related or we're very close. Worked with Kyrie Irving, purchased a home for the family of George Floyd. This guy's countless just philanthropic things that he's done that get swept under the rug. No one talks about. I think he's like donated a bunch of money to Feeding America. He's worked with some of the Native American tribes in the U.S., giving them food and stuff and things like that. That like, why aren't those things highlighted in the moment as much as him sharing a link to an Amazon product are in this moment, right? Like these things have obviously happened in the past, of course, but like the general population didn't even know that he did these things. It's like we're focusing on the negatives with this guy so much that like you kind of forget that this guy does good things and cares about people.
I think the problem is he's a repeat offender on dumb conspiracy theories.
Who cares?
Because it's annoying. For normal people.
That's the thing. This, you know what, Dante? This is the one time in the instance that I'm gonna go back on my words, and I'm gonna agree with something that you said in my house when I was living in Los Angeles. I believe the year was probably 2019 during our podcast. You said that social media was one of the worst things to happen in history. Completely. And I disagreed with you so hard and fought you on that for over an hour. I've come around. I've turned the corner. I agree. Social media is not one of the worst thing to ever happen to humanity ever. I'm not downplaying any of these genocides and anything that happened to any specific group of people, but overarchingly, yes, it's the worst thing in the history of history.
I agree. Still, I think it's horrible. I did sign up for Twitter Blue today so I could get a verified checkmark, but still, Twitter is the worst thing to ever happen, really. Twitter is the worst, then followed by Instagram, but TikTok is making a real, strong push to be the worst. I still think it's Twitter, though. However, it's annoying, but everything else he's done up to this point has just been annoying. Flat Earth, like shit that's easily disprovable. Flat Earth, moon landing. Like
you believe that the Earth is a sphere? It's round.
Completely, it's a big sphere
spinning very
in
fast,
space.
so fast that we don't feel it.
Right. That's right. The math checks out.
You believe the moon landing happened?
I interviewed a guy who went to the moon. His name is Buzz Aldrin. He was there.
That guy's done so much coke, he doesn't even know his middle name. Who the fuck is Buzz Aldrin?
Buzz. Listen. So all those other conspiracies are just like annoying. It's like, dude, Kyrie, come on. Like, stop saying that shit. Not as a joke. If it's a joke, like Shaq tried to say it as a joke once, and everyone started getting a little nervous, but then he clarified. Right. It's just when you have that, and then it compounds with this, which now is damaging to people.
But that's the whole thing, though. It's like one person's beliefs shouldn't trigger you this way. Like, if you don't agree with him, just disagree with him and move the fuck on. Like, the fact that he believes in the Earth being flat. All right, Kyrie, you're a fucking idiot. That's fine, but like, I couldn't care less.
I agree with that generally. I'm also hey, like, who cares what the fuck he tweeted? Just don't look at it and don't give it attention. But people are upset, and he plays for Brooklyn.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just one more touch on my double standard stance, and then we can move on. So one of my friends who's very close to me, who happens to be Jewish, didn't have a problem with anything that Kanye said. but was up in arms about this whole Kyrie thing, which is very fascinating to me. Very, very fascinating. And his point was he appreciates Kanye as an artist more than he appreciates Kanye or Kyrie as a basketball player. So basically, he's saying that Kanye's genius as a musician and an artist overtakes anything that he could say negatively, whereas Kyrie Irving is not that good of a basketball player. So like, I have an issue with the things that he says because his art doesn't overtake, his mistakes. And that I found that very interesting. I found that very interesting. It really sort of validates my whole point that this is a huge double standard. You should have an issue with both or not have an issue with either.
I appreciate the honesty on their part.
Of course.
It's like me with the NBA. Like, yeah, are people being killed in China right now and all sorts of other human rights abuses? Yeah. Am I going to watch the NBA? Yeah.
Is the NFL racist? Of course. Am I going to participate in fantasy football every week? Of course.
Right.
It's one of those things. But that was very fascinating for a Jewish person to admit that they had no problem with anything that Kanye said or did. But, Kyrie Irving sharing that link, that's where I draw the line. Fuck that guy. It's like, wait, what? How, Sway?
Speaking of, did you see that Kanye admitted that Sway did have the answers? Someone interviewed him, and he was like, you know what? You're right. He did have the answer.
Kanye's funnier than anyone gives him credit for. He's fucking hilarious. He's a very funny guy.
Yeah.
You don't agree with me. That's okay.
He's okay. He's not that funny. Because he doesn't have a lot of self-awareness. You need a little bit of self-awareness, self-deprecating.
He's not like a Louis C.K. stand-up funny, but like he's like a conversation in the moment riff funny.
You brought up the NFL, and it makes me think Kyrie is going to be kind of like the Kaepernick of the NBA, except for all the wrong issues.
I don't think so.
Like, he's going to sacrifice his career because he questions the Holocaust.
No. It's very different. So Kyrie Irving...
it's not different, though. He could get those 6 things done in one afternoon, and then come right back. And the same thing with the vaccine. Like, the vaccine thing is a little different because
he was right.
He was able to play in other cities, and the city should have just made like an exemption for him. Okay, like at that point, but still,
he was right. He was right all along. Now we're learning that this vaccine was bullshit, didn't work. New York's now being forced to not only rehire every city worker that was affected by not getting vaccinated, but also give them back pay, which is basically saying we were wrong, we fucked up, please forgive us. So I fully support Kyrie's stance on not getting vaccinated. Fuck you. As someone who may or may not be vaccinated, I wholeheartedly agree with Kyrie's stance there. So that he's not gonna, I'm not gonna get a bag, whatever, but I'm also not gonna harm my body. But the Kaepernick Kyrie comparison is a little off, and I'm gonna tell you why. Kaepernick played a position that was up until more recently predominantly white in a black sport, right? You think of great quarterbacks, 60 to 80% of them are going to be white males.
Right.
If Kaepernick played any other position, I don't think it would have ended the way it did if he was a receiver, a tight end, a linebacker, whatever. But he played quarterback. It's the face of the team, oftentimes the face of the franchise. Kyrie Irving, on the other hand, plays in a predominantly black sport, but it's not like the point guard is always white, the center is always black. Most great players are black. So Kyrie Irving will get picked up by another team if he ends up leaving the Nets. No problem there, regardless of what he does or does not do on that list of things. Whereas Kaepernick, given the position that he plays, being the face of the team, once that happened, he had no chance of reviving his career at all. So to me, it's very different in that regard. Like Kyrie Irving, as long as he's good at basketball, will have a job in the NBA. Whereas Kaepernick, no matter how good he was, because he played quarterback, he was fucked.
Right. Well, I guess I'm more just talking about how he's making principled stances on things that you don't really need to take principled stances on, like Hebrews to Negroes.
If you don't
Black,
stand
Black
for something,
America.
you will
What's the name of that
fall
movie again?
kingdom.
Wake Up Black America. That's what he's
What
taking
did
a
you
big
just say
stance
to
on.
me? What did you just say to me? If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. By the way, since this whole controversy, I've ordered myself 2 Kyrie Irving jerseys. Just gonna throw that out there.
Oh man, could you send me one so I could burn it? By the way, if anyone's watching, I'm wearing sunglasses because I'm a little sick, so I look like shit. So that's why. Let's move on to something that I wanted to play for you. Bill Clinton, former president, friend of Jeffrey Epstein, maybe visited his island, maybe he didn't, was questioned about this relationship at a campaign event. Let me just figure out how to use my streaming software real quick. All right, so some guy gets him in a line and they interview him. Jeffrey Epstein, famous sex trafficker, allegedly killed himself. I think he did kill himself, by the way. In prison a few years ago, his girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, was convicted of sex trafficking. She's spending 20 years running around playing softball in a Florida club fed.
She's got some cannons, by the way. Just throwing it out there.
Can't deny that. Cannot deny that. Part of her charm, I'm sure. All right. So here's Bill. You see this? He looks terrible, by the way. I know that the doctor said he had to stop eating meat for his health because he had a big heart operation, but like maybe just eat some meat and look good for the last few years. All right.
You think he's low on adrenochrome? Is that what's going on?
It's been tough to get. There's a supply chain issue with babies and young people. Yeah, definitely. Here's Bill. Someone finally asked him about it. I don't think he's ever commented on Jeffrey Epstein before.
No.
But he's pretty much had to take a back seat in national politics. Remember, like 10 yeyears ago, Obama brought him out at the Democratic National Convention to give a big speech, and everyone was like, oh, we wish Bill could run again. You know, he's so good.
Black people love Bill Clinton.
Yeah, I mean, somebody called, was it Toni Morrison who called him the first black president?
Yeah.
Wake up, Black America. He's white.
What'd you say to me?
Anyways, during that time, during those post-presidency years, he was hanging out on the Lolita Express. So someone finally asked him about it. Let's listen in.
Any comments on the alleged allegation of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein?
You see that smile?
That laugh and smile tells me everything I need
He's
to
like,
know. Also, I gotta acknowledge the fact that he completely dismissed his handler. Like his handler heard the question, was trying to get him away, and Bill's like, "No, fam, I got this." And then he gives that devious little smile, like, "Yeah, I fucked them kids."
Yeah, that handler. First of all, I hate handlers. They always look like that. Come on.
Look at this guy.
No, dude. Come on. No, dude. No, dude. Don't ask about Epstein.
That's cap in 20 years.
Anyways, yeah. And then he smiles with that, like, man, I had some good times. My friend Jeffrey. Boy, I wish he was still around.
That's a man who's been to Epstein Island more times than he can count and has done things that are unthinkable.
He says, I think the evidence. Wait, what was he asked? What was the question?
Any comments on the alleged allegation of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein?
The alleged allegation of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, it's not an allegation that he's connected. There's been pictured multiple times. By the way, this reporter was found dead yesterday.
It won't be long.
No, I don't believe that. I hate when people claim that the Clintons had Jeffrey Epstein killed. There's so many more powerful rich people than the Clintons who would have motivation and means to have Epstein killed. If we forget, Bill Barr was what was he, the Attorney General or whatever during the Trump years.
Yeah.
Anyone can get it done. it's the guy in power. Bill and Hillary cannot send secret agents into a prison to kill Jeffrey Epstein. It doesn't matter how much you think they did. Would they? Is he happy that Jeffrey's dead? Yeah, from a problem solving standpoint. But if you look at his face here, he clearly misses the guy.
I think he misses. I think he misses the product more than the guy. He misses his supplier. Okay.
Because like he got taken by surprise, and that was his real reaction. Like he wasn't expecting to ever be asked about that, and it just like brought back such joy. Jeffrey, is he here?
How terrible this guy looks.
I know he does look bad. Oh, fuck,
he's on a fast track to dying. Get this guy some adrenochrome. Jesus, Hillary, what are you doing?
It would be great if he would decide to be like, you know what, I'm dying anyway. Maybe I'm gonna just spill the beans and just start.
Why hasn't anyone done that yet?
Giving an honest accounting of his presidency. Yeah, I'll tell you about Epstein. He's dead. Can't charge me anyway. You know, like all that kind of shit.
There's been so many situations where that's going to happen. Epstein aside, like who's going to be the first to do that? That's what I'm waiting for. It's like I'm just going to say it because I'm dying and they're dead. Nothing can happen. Yes, it's true, and then you die.
Yeah, because like George H.W. Bush was never going to do it because he's a big CIA spook, and so he was like trained to never talk. You know, Gerald Ford, I don't know what happened to him. He just died. I don't think Jimmy Carter has that much to say. And Ronald Reagan had Alzheimer's, so he couldn't even remember anything. Clinton could rehabilitate his image with the people. Everyone thinks of him as Slick Willie. You know, he lies, he plays with the facts. He could rehabilitate his image if he came out and just was honest. Hey, yes, you know, we took down that dictator. Yeah, Epstein, boy, those were some fun nights in Little St. James Island. You know, yeah, I fucked Elaine in a helicopter. She picked me up, and then I fucked her while she flew me out to Little St. James.
Someone's got to do it.
It's just, it's funny to see that face of his, that smile. One more time.
I want that on a T-shirt.
And what does he mean? The evidence is clear. Yeah, it is clear. It's clear that you hung out with the guy. You flew on his plane with Chris Tucker and Kevin Spacey. And
maybe this is his way of admitting it.
Yeah, he's just
like, sort of like a backhanded, like, yeah, you know what's going on. Yes, the evidence is clear. I was there.
I like it. I don't like what he's accused of doing, but I like the honesty. Yeah, the evidence is clear. I mean, I can't lie to you.
If you got an invite to the island when it was at its heyday, would you have said no?
Absolutely.
I don't believe.
I'm not going to any of that shit.
Something inside me is not allowing myself to believe you.
Well, that's the little voice in your head saying, "Well, I would go."
Listen, I'm not going to say I would or wouldn't. You know, it depends on what I was doing.
Weren't you on the Lolita Express flight logs? That was you, right?
No, another Muhammad.
Oh,
it's the most common name in the world, anyway. So yeah, it could have been any of us.
Absolutely. That would be a good cover up. Okay. There's just a couple more things I want to talk about, and then we'll get you out of here.
I appreciate.
Is there anything you want to talk about? What are you even up to?
Just living the dream, man. Just living the dream.
Living the dream, huh?
Living the dream.
Okay. NBA owners, the Hadassah magazine. What is Hadassah magazine? Yeah. Now you have me nervous that I cited some kind of like horrible anti-Semitic. I shared an anti-Semitic link
on earth. The headline tells you everything you need to know. This is fucking pre-K JV news. What is this?
HadassahMagazine.org. There's an ad that said there are many picture books about the Holocaust, but this one stands out. What the fuck?
Oh my God.
Sharing here.
You're about to be deplatformed for sure.
Israel and diaspora, culture and travel, community and faith. If this is a hate magazine, they're doing a great job of covering it up.
Is there an About Us section? I want to learn about these folks.
I didn't even read the article, really.
You're the problem.
Is it one of those units? Blah blah blah. By any measure, Brooklyn is the most Jewish place in America. Approximately 600,000 Jews now call the borough home. Blah 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 blah. Rabbi John Leaner. Okay, Hadassah magazine. Finally, it loaded. I think this is a pro-Jewish magazine. I think I'm in the clear here.
Let's hope so.
Yep.
I don't want
We
to
have
be
articles like
otherwise.
a modern approach to classic Jewish comfort food, Jewish matchmaking. There's an app for that. Okay, I think I'm good. Let's get the fuck away from it, though, real quick. Elon, Twitter might be out of the question. Bankruptcy. Oh, yeah. This. A YouTuber. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to shout out. There was a couple commenters in the chat that I missed while we were talking. Oh, Billy Boy says, Jeffrey Epstein did happen, and there sure is a lot of Jews involved in it.
Billy Boy, I love you.
Billy Boy says, many connections with the pandemic, COVID lockdowns, and the vax with people involved in the Jeffrey Epstein cabal.
Shouts out Billy Boy. We need to get you on the show.
Billy, a YouTuber was arrested for eating bats on camera in Thailand. Like,
why?
What the fuck? I believe that the COVID could have come from a lab. In fact, I lean toward the lab leak theory, but why take the risk?
Whoa.
Why? She's just like pulling it apart like a goddamn chicken breast and eating it in that broth. Looks disgusting. Bat with little cherry tomatoes. Like, what the fuck? The woman, Fan Chonak Shri Sunakula, uploaded the nasty clip Monday showing her eating a bowl filled with broth, tomatoes, and multiple dead bats. She described the meal as delicious. Like, look, I understand people want to be adventurous with food. You're a foodie. You like to be adventurous, but we got to stop with the exotic food eating, especially for YouTube views. Like, this woman is about to unleash the next COVID. There is COVID, SARS viruses in bats and other animals. I think the COVID that hit all of us probably was leaked from a lab just because of the way it, like, so well, you know, you can't say. I don't want to get sued by Dr. Fauci. You can't just make that claim.
He's retired, counting his millions that he made during the past 2 years. He doesn't give a fuck about.
How many millions did he make? What did he make? $2 million?
Oh no. His net worth increased significantly this past like 18 months to 24 months.
Yeah, but it wasn't that high to begin with.
That's the whole point.
Kyrie Irving could buy and sell his ass just with the money his half salary from last year.
So he more than doubled his net worth in less than 2 years.
Yeah.
He went from like 4.8 to like 13.9 million. So there you go.
Well, this
woman is reported.
Yeah. Maybe you got some stock tips from Paul Pelosi.
Maybe you got some stock dick from Paul Pelosi.
I talked about that story already, but you know, I can only guess what you think happened.
Oh man, we don't have enough time. We'll save that for another episode.
Paul Pelosi, yeah, I fucked him too.
Listen, I don't have a problem with this.
Listen, the woman's facing 5 years in jail. That's what I love.
Oh, you love that?
Yep.
Oh.
I love it. You should stop eating bats. If there's one lesson we learned from COVID, it's we should probably stop eating bats.
You lost me there.
It hasn't been long enough since COVID for her to think that this is okay. This is like when someone fucks with food, like, you know, those Domino's pizza people they're seen like pissing on the cheese. This is that bad to me. Everyone that does food related crimes should get the death penalty, in my opinion.
You consider this a crime?
Not only do I consider it a crime, it's a crime against humanity. If Kyrie Irving tweeted out a link to this video, I would say just kick him out of the fucking NBA for good.
What do you want to send her to fucking Gitmo? What's the result here? How do we handle this?
Kanye supports this woman. Well, I want the Thai authorities to let the system do its thing. Put her in jail for 5 years.
Ugh.
You know what? The only problem with that is she's got to be in a solitary confinement in protective custody, because if she starts breathing on the inmates and then one of them gets released, then the problem, the new COVID, fresh out of jail, out on bail, fresh out of jail. It's the new COVID dreaming.
I got a question. Did she make this soup herself, or did she get it prepared for her?
Oh, you can get this at Trader Joe's. It's pre-prepared.
So why aren't we arresting Joe? Why are we so focused on this woman?
I'm assuming she made it herself. She probably had to catch her own bat. I don't know. Shut down the wet markets.
I don't have an issue with this.
Yeah, well, I figured.
I stand on that.
All right, let me see if there's anything else I need to cover with you. Oh, this was kind of funny, but Charlotte Hornets have their new city edition. Yeah, clit jerseys.
That's great. I noticed in your, I don't know if anyone else can see it, but there's a title at the top, and in that title, Chappelle Boycott is the last thing.
That's right. But first, a white and black Santa Claus have gone viral on social media for their list names.
Oh, let's see this.
Okay. So the Santa, how do I make this bigger? Possible. The white Santa has names like Thomas, Paul, Daniel, Mary, Patrick, Mindy, Christian, Charlotte, Dante, William, Rachel, Andy, Dante, Muhammad. The black Santa has Nia, Grady, cultural Marxist, Lathune, Alexander, Dwayne,
yep,
Brian, Pepperoncini, Kayla, Brian, Quinn, Taylor, Damian, Joseph, Sebastian, and Latoya.
Yep.
Your thoughts?
I mean, they didn't accomplish a goal here. Those are some shitty black names if that's what they were going for, right? Like, there's no Deontay. There's, like, where are you at?
What I always wonder is, does somebody who makes that list think like, oh, this is going to be really funny? People are going to come into our department store and they're going to get the joke. Or they think like, oh, I'm being edgy. I'm being dangerous right now. How do they not think that this is going to blow up in their face?
Where was
How
this
are
at?
people still that stupid? Let me find out where this was at.
It's got to be some obscure county in a small town. Please say Brooklyn. Please say Brooklyn. Please say.
So the white has a little list.
I'm not seeing. As usual with stuff that comes from TikTok, it's hard to find the origin. A lot of people are saying the names are spot on. I don't know. I disagree with the white names. There's not enough Asher and, Jackson and Aiden.
Trying to find the most common white name.
It's Dante. This is the most common white name is Dante Greco.
James is number 1. Robert's number 2 for males.
Is Kyrie on there?
1. Patricia is number 2 for females. Interesting.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep it moving. Where's the Chappelle thing? Fuck. How did I lose that? Well, anyways, the story is Chappelle is hosting Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah.
And he's being boycotted by some of the writers on SNL.
Oh, yeah.
So, SNL is as liberal as it gets. It's young, it's Gen Z. The people that are fans of it nowadays, the people that are working there definitely skew into like I don't know. I know they've tried to make a push to have more people of color, more diverse cast, but I still think it's serves a certain demographic, if you know what I mean. So they're upset because Dave Chappelle has said a lot of things that are being interpreted as transphobic by many people, and they brought him back to host again. Why these writers are surprised? I mean, they've had Trump on, they've had Chappelle on before, like, and I agree with the move. SNL to me they can only survive on stunt casting these days. Like when Kim Kardashian hosted, that was the last time I actually tuned in to watch the show. You want to see what's going to happen. Maybe when Elon Musk did too. But just your average host, it doesn't bring in the viewers anymore. It doesn't have the cultural relevancy anymore. The format, the format was great for many years, but it just doesn't work the same way in our modern media landscape. So you need a Chappelle. I'm interested in watching because Chappelle is going to host.
Before we dive into this, if you scroll up a little bit, there was go down. Sorry. Yeah, right there. I couldn't help but notice this best streaming service for your black dollar in October. What is this?
Let's see. This is from The Root magazine. Best streaming service for your black dollar in October. Netflix, Hulu, Apple. Here are the 10 best streaming services for your black dollar. Let me see here. Apple TV Plus simply does not have much black content on its platform for October. Wow. So I agree that Apple TV doesn't have much content that you're interested in at all.
Right. Very
on
low.
A per visit basis, I never watch anything off of Apple TV, which is shocking. The amount of money that they have sitting in offshore banks, and they can't put a little bit into that, into production for their Apple TV network is just offensive.
Maybe they're too busy funding these Uyghur camps.
Could be. Yeah. Do they offer Hebrew to Negroes Wake Up Black America on Apple TV?
They do, actually.
The Louis Armstrong channel.
All right, we're derailed now. Let's get back to it.
I was gonna say that's streaming.
That headline just caught my eye, and I wasn't sure what your search history looked like.
Listen, that's Yahoo. They did it. Anyways,
Targeted ad.
Though the writers weren't named specifically, they weren't named as one of the writers specifically who'd be boycotting. SNL scribe Celeste Yim previously expressed their disdain for that type of content, talking about Chappelle's stand-up act. I'm trans and non-binary. I use they, them pronouns. Transphobia is murder and it should be condemned. However, a rep for Chappelle cast doubt on those claims of a boycott, explaining that energy wasn't present when the comedian met with writers earlier this week to prepare for Saturday. Yeah. I mean, I believe that. They're not going to say that to his face.
Yeah, they're scared.
And Lorne Michaels he's not going to tolerate someone boycotting and yelling at his guest. I mean, just from a manners standpoint, what celebrity would come back on the show if you have to be confronted?
Well, this whole idea of Chappelle being transphobic is there's no basis for it anyway. He makes jokes about trans people, but also acknowledges them as people. And one of his closest friends was a trans person who killed themselves.
Because they were his friend.
I can't believe I'm friends with this guy. If you watch his stand-up, though, he acknowledges it in several ways. But I think what they, and I say they as the people in the community, are so caught up on is the fact that he even has the gall to make jokes about trans people, which is to me, I don't get it. Jokes are jokes.
Right. Well, I feel like this is going to take a whole nother episode to delve into this subject matter and escape from it unscathed and still employable. So we need to prepare before we have that one. But you know what? Maybe after the episode, we should reconvene. It's this Saturday. We'll check it out, and then we'll reconvene and review it and see, whether they were right to boycott.
What do you think is the what would you say is like the worst ice cream flavor?
Oh man, like butter pecan. Are you talking about what's the worst ice cream flavor for my black dollar, or just in general?
No, just curious. Just want to know what your favorite ice cream flavor is.
That's it. So don't send me any of that shit.
Send you,
And I'm not really a big mint ice cream guy either.
Like mint chocolate chip.
Yeah, I don't really go for that.
Fantastic, fantastic.
It's like you're eating Ben Gay.
I think you've been gay. Maybe you still are. Who knows?
I'm boycotting this episode. Well, Mohammed, it's been great to have you on. We did a podcast previously. It was called Conspiratards. It was about conspiracies. We talked a lot about Epstein and Clinton and all that on that show. I don't even know if it's still available online, but we'll do this again. Right?
Of course. Absolutely. I'm happy to be here whenever you'll have me.
Are you in a foreign country? Because there seems to be a long delay between me asking a question and you answering it. It's almost like you're halfway across the world right now.
My location's TBD, so we won't share those details. I could be somewhere like Azerbaijan. I could be Morocco. I could be in New York. Who knows? There's a lot of people looking right now, so
I'm going with Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan.
All right. Well, listen, everybody, thank you for watching. I'm going to play my new outro now. I just finished this today. I have an intro and an outro for people who want to sit through it. I'm going to play that, and we'll see you next week. And Mohammed, we're still going to be live, so don't say anything incriminating until I tell you. Thank you.
Have a good life. We will see you soon.
So once again, thank you to my brother. Tell him your name again.
Dante Greco.
Much love.
Thank you.
Love.
All right, Dante.
2 words.
Dante.
Made in America.
You're doing great.
That's good. I never anybody over in my life. It's probably.
Pretend you're a horse in a parade.
Have a good day.
Listen, I want you to leave my good friend Ringo alone.
My pal Hal.